Welcome, kind hearts who sail the restless tide of feeling, welcome to your sanctuary, whispers of Turkish stars. We all know how easy it is to live by headlines, to skim the surface and assume we've tasted the whole ocean, but you, loyal companions of this channel, understand that truth has layers, colors, and hidden corridors. Today, we invite you to mute the outside clamor, to loosen the grip of empty speculation, and slip into a tale of reinvention, craft, and that haunting resonance love leaves behind even when the door has quietly closed. Our focus turns to Lingers and Alina, two names that once made our pulses align, and who now, though moving apart, seem to play distant notes of the same melody, a symphony worth hearing with devotion. Before we step into the private studio where their creativity now breathes, give our community a gentle but vital sign of life. Subscribe, tap the bell so you catch every sigh and spark, and, if you wish to sustain storytelling that peers past the glare and listens for the tremor beneath, press the join button and stand with us. Some loves, the ones that burrow to your core and rearrange the furniture of your soul, do not evaporate the instant two people face opposite horizons. Often, they resolve or perhaps they ripen when both finally absorb the lesson the love had been tutoring them in all along. The visible thread may snap, the handholding, the shared frames, the candid glances, but the invisible weave inside remains, shaping the very room where those two spirits first recognized each other. This is the shape, delicate yet potent, of the story that now connects Lingers and Alina. They no longer share call sheets or shadow the same camera's gaze. No rehearsals in adjacent trailers, no whispered looks over coffee. And yet, if you lean toward the stories they're telling now apart, each architecting a universe, you'll notice their themes reflecting across a quiet sea, like moonlight answering itself. We are not revisiting romance, nor wagering on reconciliation. This is not a scoreboard, not a tally of who is soaring higher. It's a patient, thoughtful inspection of alchemy. What happens inside two people after the parting, and how the change slips into their work without permission, turning ache into radiance. With the Blue Cave project, Lingers commits an act of artistic courage that steps beyond the crisp border of acting. He refuses to stay only as the voice for another's lines, he walks into the fire as a maker. He writes, carves, and reaches for those words he once could not place on his tongue. He lends a body to those feelings men are trained to lock behind an easy grin or a practiced angle for the lens. Discipline has always been Alp's signature, almost martial in its steadiness, study, repetition, a calibrated dance, seriousness like a guitarist tuning before stepping into the spotlight. But Blue Cave bends the road. Screenplays rarely arrive when you're content to speak in other people's syntax. They arrive when your own grammar presses its palms against the glass. This film refuses to be a blueprint for predictable solace. It has its own tide and a sly undertow. It is built on recognitions that show up late, on truths that knock after the latch is thrown. At its center stands Sem, meticulous, contained, a man who mistakes silence for armor. Blue Cave turns to him and asks the question that rolls like thunder through a clear sky: is it truly too late for what you never dared to say? The question doesn't merely circle the audience. It steps up to the writer himself, Alp, as though he lit a single match to study the shadows quivering on the walls rather than the flame itself. It's ruthless and beautiful, a self-inquiry that invites regret to become sculpture. Dear friends of Whispers of Turkish Stars, have you felt this new current in Alp? Through Sem, do you hear a private register of his voice? Alina's path looks different from the street, yet it is no less radical. From the beginning, a certain shine has clung to her story, and with it, the bothersome mosquito whine of bias. Praise for beauty is lovely until the compliment hardens into a ceiling. For years she endured the cautious tags, she's dazzling, but, she's a hit, but. Instead of clapping back online, instead of sharpening words like arrows, she carved a room where her voice could stretch its lungs. With two worlds, one desire and analysis title, but her heartbeat nonetheless. She steps beyond the cutout others hung in front of her, and states with serene conviction, I am not simply the face of a role, I can be the pulse of an entire story. She isn't just interpreting another's map, she's sketching the topography and handing us the compass. Inside this film, the narrative walks past romance and into a climate more mature, more tender. It's about grown people who misplaced the children they once were, about lives ossified by duty that rediscover a softer orientation. The most startling revelation is what the film refuses to carry: there is no grudge in its pockets. No scorekeeping, no hunger to punish the past, no courtroom speeches aimed at winning an argument already cooled. Two worlds, one desire chooses mending over vengeance. It locates a gentle landing where life once left a bruise. It's the answer of a woman who decided to let her scars become windows, demonstrating a depth of feeling that outpaces the calendar. Set Blue Cave beside two worlds, one wish, and an invisible bridge appears. Not because the plots overlap or because the characters echo one another, but because both draw water from the same well. Alp's tone is dusklit, inward, tuned to the frequencies of what if. Alina's tone is daybreak, a steady hand laid on a shaking heart. Neither erases the other, neither casting shade. These are not dueling hymns, they are sequential hours of the same day. We often get inspiration wrong, imagining it as a duet sung nose to nose. Often, inspiration travels like a signal along the ocean floor. One person opens a door and, without realizing it, grants the other permission to cross a threshold elsewhere. When Alp sat to write, he was not challenging Alina. When Alina shaped her tale, she was not responding to him. They were two mirrors catching the same light from separate rooms. That's why the timing feels uncanny, why the resonance hums for anyone listening closely. Tell us, who else in our world carries such a deep artistic echo with a former partner? Which pair would you like us to read through this lens? Your messages don't just fill a comment box, they steer our voyage. Why did magazines and gossip sites stir this moment with confusion? Because this note refuses the usual refrain. There were no slammed doors, no parades of accusation, no podiums announcing winners. In a space that thrives on spectacle, Alp and Alina posed a riddle: can gentleness be news? Can quiet growth hold an audience? To the cynic's surprise, the audience leaned closer and breathed, maybe. Maybe people do change after goodbye, just not in ways that pack a tabloid's punch. Here's the blow that lands: neither of them props up the past to bait attention, and neither erases it. No coquettish nostalgia, no cryptic captions tossed like breadcrumbs. They let the work speak, and often that is the loudest language. There is a power that doesn't pound its chest, it simply persists, a steady hum you can't tune out. Notice how this story resists an explosion at the end. That is deliberate. Real life saves its fireworks for rare nights. Most evolutions unfold with the hush of high tide reshaping a shore while the city sleeps. Sometimes inspiration passes from one person to another as a glance across a crowded room. Some loves continue their work on you even after they stop inhabiting your routine. That's where Alp and Alina stand, not together, yet not disconnected in spirit, breathing at the same emotional altitude even if their addresses differ. Look at them today, and the portrait clarifies. No metric of competition matters here. This is not a duel. It's not about who shines brighter this season. It's the tale of two artists who held the same feeling in their hands and carried it down separate roads to offer it back to us. In Blue Cave, Alp writes about the lead weight of unsent messages, the boldness required to clear your throat when the room has already gone quiet, the hairline cracks running through people who look unbreakable. In Two Worlds, One Desire, Alina places the counterpoint we crave: you don't have to live behind the unfinished past. Healing is doable. Hope is not naivete. It is a daily training. Miracles rarely blare trumpets, they arrive like morning, soft and unstoppable. And when these two films sit side by side in our minds, they do not collide, they complete a circuit. Perhaps the love they shared tutored them in the same truth, each fluent in a different dialect. Swallowing what matters doesn't erase it, it lingers. One of them wrote with shadow and confession, the other answered with light and refuge. The intention is identical. To tell the story, not to win, but to understand. Today, Alina Boz and Alp Navras don't share sets or break bread at the same table. Still, they carry an aligned calm, the steadiness born of growth rather than victory. Maybe this is the healthiest bond after love, shaping one another without consuming, learning from afar without demanding credit. And maybe that is why both Blue Cave and Two Worlds, One Wish feel less like competing premieres and more like two chapters torn from the same quiet book. We've arrived at the end of this tender, layered reading, right here on Whispers of Turkish Stars. Do you see the mirrored reflections threading their work? Do you sense their artistic selves still conversing at a distance, drafting invisible pages of an open-ended story? Share your feelings in the comments. Your voice is the bright nerve that brings this community to life. If you valued the care and patience we poured into this subject, please like and share this video with those who seek truth beyond idle talk. And above all, if you wish to become pillars of this family and help us keep unveiling the hidden language of the stars' hearts at this level, we warmly invite you to click join. Your membership is the lantern that keeps our path lit and our independence intact. Thank you for coming with us on this emotional crossing. Until the next video, where feeling always stands at center stage, we remain your steady companions, listening for the echoes that matter and honoring the stories that dare to grow in silence.